Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. She called you her best friend. She was at every birthday, every funeral, every crisis. But every time something good happened to you, somehow you walked away feeling just a little bit smaller, and you kept telling yourself, maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. But what if you weren't? What if the feeling you couldn't explain was actually your intuition trying to protect you? Stay with me for a moment, because today we are going to name something that millions of women have felt, but almost never talk about. And once you see it, you will never unsee it again. By the time we reach our 50s, our 60s, even our 70s, we've lived enough life to understand something deeply important. Not every wound comes from an enemy. Some of the deepest cuts we carry came from someone sitting beside us at a birthday dinner, someone who knew our children's names, someone we once called a sister friend. And here is what makes this so complicated. Many of us were raised to believe that being a good woman meant being endlessly loyal, forgiving, patient, always giving people the benefit of the doubt. Those values are beautiful. But here is the truth. No one taught us grace does not require blindness. Wisdom is not the same thing as narvide. And loving someone well does not mean ignoring the quiet ways they may be undermining your joy. So today, we are going to create a small sanctuary of honesty together. A space where we gently shine light on something many women have felt in their bones, but never had the language to describe. Covert envy, hidden jealousy, the smile that never quite reaches the eyes. Let's start with something important. There is a difference between obvious jealousy and hidden envy. Obvious jealousy is loud. You can see it. Someone might even say, I wish I had what you have. But covert envy is different. Covert envy is quiet. It wears the costume of friendship. It shows up with casseroles, with compliments, with warm hugs, and yet somewhere deep inside, it resents you for something you have that it secretly wants. Now, here's something crucial to understand. Most people who carry covert envy are not evil. They are hurting. They are women who feel behind in life, women whose own wounds have slowly hardened into something that poisons the air around people they genuinely care about. Psychology sometimes calls this malicious envy, but in many cases, it is simply unhealed pain. Pain that has learned to wear your friend's face. Covert envy is not evil. It is unhealed pain that has learned to wear your friend's face. Wisdom is learning to recognize it and protecting your peace anyway. Let's talk about the first subtle sign. You've probably experienced this before. A compliment that somehow lands slightly wrong. It sounds supportive on the surface, but something about it leaves a strange feeling behind. Something like, you look amazing for your age. That's so brave of you to wear that. Wow, I could never pull that off. But good for you. Psychologists call these minimizing compliments. They allow someone to appear supportive while quietly taking a small chip out of your confidence. And the most important clue is how your body feels afterward. After a genuine compliment, you feel warm, seen, lifted. But after a covert envy compliment, you feel slightly deflated. Pay attention to that feeling. Your body often understands the truth long before your mind does. Now here's another pattern. You share wonderful news. Your daughter gets into her dream school. You publish your first book. You finally retire and buy that little lake cottage you dreamed about for decades. And your friend responds with something like, that's nice. Then the conversation immediately shifts back to her life. This is one of the clearest signs of covert envy. An inability to fully celebrate someone else's joy, because your joy becomes a mirror reflecting everything she believes she lacks. And that mirror can be painful to stand in front of. A true friend expands when you expand. She lights up when you light up. Your success does not diminish her. It inspires her. If your joy consistently creates distance instead of closeness, that pattern deserves your attention. In healthy friendship, you run beside each other. In friendship marked by hidden envy, every lane quietly becomes a race, and true sisterhood was never meant to be a competition. Here is another subtle sign. You mention you've started walking 3 miles every day. She casually mentions she walks 5. You share that you lost 8 pounds. She lost 12. You take on a new leadership role in a volunteer group, and suddenly she applies for the same position. There is a difference between inspiration and competition. In healthy friendships, growth is shared, but in covert envy friendships, every story becomes a scoreboard. Ask yourself something honestly. Does sharing your life with this person feel safe? Or does it sometimes feel like handing someone quiet ammunition? Another pattern often appears here. Some friends are incredibly present during your hardest moments, during illness, divorce, grief, but strangely absent during your victories. They cancel the dinner celebrating your promotion. They're busy when you host a party for your achievement. Psychologists sometimes call this begrudging support. Some people feel comfortable loving you when you need them, but when you are thriving, your happiness awakens something uncomfortable inside them. Your joy reminds them of the dreams they have not yet claimed. And so, without fully understanding why, they pull away. Before we continue, pause for a moment. Think about your own friendships. Is there someone who consistently leaves you feeling slightly smaller, not devastated, not openly attacked, just diminished? If that feeling exists, trust it. You are not imagining things, and you are not too sensitive. Another sign can look like curiosity, a friend who asks endless questions about your life, your finances, your relationships, your plans. But when you ask about her life, the answers become vague, surface level, carefully controlled. Information can sometimes become a form of emotional proximity. Knowing your life becomes the closest she allows herself to get to having it. This doesn't always mean the friendship must end, but it may mean the relationship needs new boundaries. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. Here is another subtle behavior. Concern that quietly plants doubt. She might say, "Are you sure that's a good idea? I'd be careful if I were you. I heard something about that organization, but I don't want to worry you." On the surface, it sounds caring, but the effect is a subtle hesitation. Your confidence slows, your excitement dims. Sometimes envy doesn't attack your dreams directly. Sometimes it simply places enough doubt in your path to slow your momentum. And then there is teasing, the kind wrapped in laughter, a joke about your appearance, a comment about your past mistakes, delivered playfully so that if you react, you're told you're being too sensitive. Psychologists call this deniable aggression because the insult is hidden inside humor. But here is something I want you to hear clearly. You are not too sensitive for wanting respect. Sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. It is emotional intelligence. And anyone who requires you to shrink in order to feel comfortable around you is not offering friendship. They are managing you. You are not too sensitive for wanting dignity. Sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a strength. And anyone who needs you to shrink so they can feel comfortable is not offering true sisterhood. Now, I want us to pause and do something difficult. I want us to have compassion, not naive compassion, not the kind that walks willingly back into harm, but mature compassion, the kind that understands most envy begins in pain, often in childhood, in the little girl who was never chosen, never praised, never told she was enough. For someone raised in emotional scarcity, another person's success can feel like proof that life chose someone else. Again, understanding this does not mean accepting harmful behavior. It simply means you can step away without hatred. You can say, this relationship no longer feels healthy for me, and still wish her healing. Both can exist at the same time. Here is something psychology consistently reveals. We are most envious of people who reflect something we secretly want, but fear we cannot have, which means if someone envies you, you may be reflecting something deeply powerful. Your freedom, your courage, your peace. And that is not something you should dim. Your light was never the problem. If someone envies you, it often means you represent something they long for. Your light is not the problem. You are never the problem. Before making any decision about a friendship, come back to your body. Your nervous system notices patterns long before your mind does. That small dread before meeting her, the exhaustion after every conversation, the way you edit your joy around her. Pay attention to those signals. Try something simple. After spending time with this person, ask yourself, do I feel more like myself or less? Do I feel lifted or quietly flattened? Over time, the answer becomes unmistakably clear. Boundaries are not walls. They are fences around your inner garden. They protect what is sacred. You do not have to share every dream, every plan, every joy with someone who has shown they cannot hold it safely. Some friendships belong in the inner circle. Others belong at the level of casual warmth. And learning that difference is part of emotional maturity. Sometimes you may choose to have a conversation, not with accusation, but with honesty. You might say, I care about you deeply. This friendship has meant a lot to me. I've noticed that sometimes when I share good news, something shifts between us. I wanted to talk about it rather than silently carry the confusion. Sometimes conversations create healing, and sometimes they reveal that healing is not yet possible. And sometimes, despite every effort, a friendship